Welcome to IndieBio's Innovative Biotech Infrastructure panel, where we will have a sneak peek at some of our IndieBio New York Class 3 companies. We're so happy to have four of our amazing CEOs here to present their products that are going to build not necessarily the products that we will see available on our shelves, but will affect our everyday lives as they sell to businesses that use the products that they are creating. Before I introduce our illustrious panel, I would like to give a short introduction to IndieBio and our parent VC firm, SOSV, for those of you in our audience who are not familiar. And so here I will share my screen. And here I will introduce IndieBio as the world's leading biotech startup program, backed by the global venture capital firm SOSV. We help biotech startups to grow faster. We work with people who have a deep knowledge of the technology that they are bringing to market, scientists who are experts in their field, and we help them to create a product using their scientific know-how and turn them into real science entrepreneurs. How do we do this? A number of ways, of course. Capital always helps companies to move faster, and we provide up to $525,000 in investment to help those startups really accelerate their progress. We also have a 4-month program during which time each startup reaches a milestone both technologically and on the business side, which will set them up for a successful next fundraise. In order to make those technological milestones, we provide a rent-free lab space, which the companies are free to use and which houses the equipment to deal with the number of different biological technologies that we work with at IndieBio. If you are a founder and that sounds like a good deal to you, we'd love to have you apply at indiebio.co/apply and be a part of our future cohorts. Now, I mentioned that we work with companies across biotechnology sectors, and that's the truth. Any company or any startup that is using biology to create a product that is solving a real world problem, one of the largest problems facing human or planetary health, is the kind of startup that we would like to work with. Today, we're lucky because we have a number of different sectors represented, as well as a number of different technologies. And I will introduce our CEOs momentarily. Now, if you want to see the entire IndieBio New York Class 3, please join us next week at the same exact time, also on Hopin, where you can learn about all of the 10 amazing companies that are part of our third class out of the New York branch of IndieBio. With that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that our speakers will be able to share theirs. And I'd love to introduce today's panel and welcome each of the CEOs. The first CEO is Danielle Rose, CEO of Ceragen. Hi, Danielle. Thanks for joining us today. We are also joined by Uyen Tran, CEO of Tomtex. Thank you for joining us today, Uyen. Now, I don't know what order you guys are seeing them in, but next to Uyen, I see Poulami Chaudhuri, who is CEO of Helix Bio. Thank you for joining us today, Poulami. And finally, last but not least, we have Norman Miller, CEO of Kutanios, who will be presenting, I'm sorry, CSO, pardon me, of Kutanios, who will be presenting the Kutanios story.
Hi, Julie. Nice to be here.
Glad you could join us. Now, without further ado, we have 4 companies to be introduced to today, and I'd like to turn over the floor to Danielle Rose of Ceragen. Danielle, could you please introduce us to the way that you're helping to sustainably intensify the world?
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for having me here today, Julie. So I guess I can get started with kind of a quick presentation. So just wait for that to come online. Excellent. Okay. Well, good morning. My name is Danielle Rose. I'm the CEO of Ceragen, and we are developing probiotics for plants to increase crop yields. With the global population on the rise, we need to produce more food from less land to sustainably feed our growing population. Unfortunately, this often conflicts with farmers' primary goal, which is to continue increasing their yields in order to increase profits. This means that to sustainably intensify food production, we need cost-effective methods that allow farmers to continue increasing their profits while increasing sustainability in order to drive widespread adoption. By harnessing the power of plant growth promoting microbes, our company is helping farmers sustainably intensify their food production while improving their bottom line. Modern agriculture practices have had a major negative impact on these beneficial communities of microbes that are naturally present in healthy soils. By restoring these natural communities, growers are able to harness these microbes' plant growth promoting traits, such as enzymes that improve stress tolerance and nutrient uptake, hormones that promote plant growth, and nitrogen fixation. At Ceragen, we are developing probiotics for plants that help farmers restore these natural communities, thereby increasing crop yields over 10%. Our products are carefully formulated with carefully selected microbes that help increase biomass production, increase root growth, improve the plant's tolerance to environmental stresses, as well as increase fruit mass, as well as decreasing fruit loss due to stress-related defects. Based on a 10% increase in crop production, we're looking at a total addressable market of $82 billion globally. Our initial target market is the $1.2 billion greenhouse vegetable production. Greenhouse vegetables are a highly underserved market, and these growers are actively searching for new ways to continue increasing yields as their revenue per acre has flatlined over the last 10 years as greenhouse production became increasingly optimized. Horticulture is currently an underserved market because microbial products need to be specifically developed and tailored for every variety of crop. Our company has unlocked this market by developing a high throughput platform and streamlined process that allows us to easily and cost effectively develop new products for any type of plant and any type of growing environment. Based on over 20 years of research by our scientific advisors, our platform combines novel culturing techniques, high throughput plant assays, whole genome sequencing, rapid phenotyping, and machine learning to allow our company to rapidly select the best plant growth promoting microbes. Additionally, the platform allows our company to bring new products to market over 4 times faster than leading competitors. Developed using the first iteration of this platform, our first product, Ceragen Accelerate, has been shown to increase tomato yield up to 10% with a single application. This product has already obtained Canadian and New York regulatory approval, and we're in the process of filing for approval in the remainder of the US states. Launched in January of last year, we already have 2 repeat customers for this product and 2 additional ongoing pilots with greenhouse tomato growers. With a diverse background in microbiology, automation engineering, and business development, our team has the skills required to bring this product to market. And we are advised by world-leading experts in plant growth promoting bacteria. We are currently on track to launch 3 new products to market by Q4 of 2023, the first of which, for use in lettuce, will be launching in Q3 of this year. Thank you very much for listening and tuning in today, and we hope that you will join us on our mission to continue increasing crop yields and improving agricultural sustainability. So if you want to learn more, please check out our website or contact us by email.
What a wonderful introduction to Ceragen. I can't wait until all of our produce are creating more fruit so we can have healthier diets. Thank you very much, Danielle. Next, we will move on to another startup which is working in the sustainability space to free us of wearing petrochemicals. I would like to bring Uyen Tran, the CEO of Tomtex, up to the floor to introduce us to her biomaterials company.
Good. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here. And hi, Julie. So I just go ahead and start. So my name is Uyen. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Tomtex. And at Tomtex, we designing sustainable material for the future. And today we start with leather. So it's not just me and my team believe in this novel materials. But in the last year, we are the gold winner of the International Design Excellence Award. And we also one of the finalists of the LVMH Innovation Award. And we're very honored to represent Vietnam for the Expo Dubai this year. So why leather? So I'm Vietnamese, and I grew up in Da Nang, Vietnam, where it's the epic center of the leather manufacturing. And in fact, turning skin to leather use a lot of toxic chemicals that can have a negative impact on the human health and the environment. And also, we think we have the answer: synthetic vegan leather. But this leather is actually made out of plastic, and it takes 500 years to degrade. So at Tomtex, we have a solution. We're creating 100% bio-based material that make from shisha waste and mushroom as a sustainable alternative to faux leather and animal leather. And how we gonna do this? At Tomtex, we have the patent bending technology that we can use shisha waste and mushroom to extract chitosan. So chitosan is the second most abundant biopolymer on Earth, just behind cellulose. And we use chitosan to mix with other green substance through a strong bond cross-linker process to produce our material. And our technology is very versatile, and it can also be engineered to create biopolymer, bioyarn, and biofiber in the future. Unlike traditional leather producer and unlike synthetic vegan leather, our material don't use any toxic chemicals or tanning process. And also we don't use any plastic or petrochemicals in our formula. So that's why our material is naturally biodegradable and recyclable. And also, we don't compromise on the performance and aesthetic of the material. We have the technology that can facilitate us to create the material that's similar to leather in terms of strength, salability, flexibility, and water resistant. And we also can customize any color and texture that we want, and this can use to apply to different industry. With the respect to scalability, we already create 500 seats of our material in the lab scale production with half the cost of animal leather. And when we scaled up, we want to even lower the cost of 1/5 of the animal leather. So why we care about this problem right now? If you see by 2028, the global synthetic vegan leather market worth $57 billion with a growth rate of 8% every year. And the sustainable movement has just started. For example, H&M is aiming to use 30% of the recyclable material by 2025, and LVMH is aiming to have 100% new products made from sustainable material by 2030. And we are one of the finalists of LVMH Innovation Award this year. We had a lot of support from key partners in the industry, and we already successfully established 4 key partnerships in the field with key partners. So one of them give us around 50,000 grants in material testing. We already in the conversation with a lot of other customer and brand in fashion industry, automotive industry, industrial design, and consumer good. And the key here is we want to produce our material and also partnership with them to create Tomtex collection using Tomtex material. And we are the team of designer, scientists, and businessmen work side by side together to create this material for everyone. So I have the background in fashion design and textile engineer, and I work in the fashion industry here in New York for a few years. So we want to bridge into this industry first. And in the business side, we have Adam Uyen, our COO. He have years working in high-tech consumer good. And we have our co-founder, CSO, Ross McBee, PhD from Columbia University. He have year experience in working with living material and material development. We also have a tremendous help from Professor Anu Netravali from Cornell University, and expert in green chemistry, protein fibers, and cellulose. So thank you so much, and please join us for the sustainable material movement.
Thank you so much. What a wonderful introduction to Tomtex. And for those of you in the audience that want to see some more of this material, I believe that Uyen will be bringing some of this material to the demo day presentations where you can interact with her live during some of the sessions that we'll have. Next, I would like to hand over the microphone to Dr. Poulami Chaudhuri, who is going to introduce us to Helix Bio and a startup that is starting to eliminate and make genetic diseases a thing of the past.
Thank you, Julie, for the introduction. Yeah. Hi, everybody. I'm the CEO at Helix. I'm Dr. Poulami Chaudhuri. I'll get started with my presentation. So this is Sneha. She suffers from LCA. It is inherited retinal blindness. She's actually one of the 300 million patients worldwide who suffer from one or the other genetic disorder that impacts their everyday life. With the advancements in gene therapies, there is hope for these 300 billion people. CRISPR-Cas is a revolutionary gene editing technology that really holds the promise to provide solutions for most of these genetic diseases. Given the fact that it can overcome its biggest challenge, that is the safety associated with it. It's really the safety associated with CRISPR that decides its translation from being a simplistic research tool to that of a therapy tool. At Helix, we are enabling safer gene editing based therapies. In CRISPR, there are two critical components, one being the Cas enzyme, which is the molecular scissors, and the other is the navigator or the programmable unit called the guide RNA. It's really the guide RNA that decides where exactly in the genome the edit is supposed to happen, which means it is very critical in determining the safety of the therapy. A poorly designed guide RNA can have a lot of off-target effects or unintended cuts, and it provides you with very limited control on the genome editing. This is where Helix comes into play. We like to call ourselves the GPS for gene editing. Our guide RNAs enable better control on the entire gene editing. They enable safer therapies. The guide RNAs that we design have high on-target efficiency with extremely low off-targets. We also provide a detailed safety profiling of the entire guide RNA and its impact on the genome. We not just look at the on-target and off-target, but we also look at the adverse effects that are caused because of the edit. We are starting out with CRISPR-Cas, but as we move forward, we'll also be contributing to other gene editing mechanisms like base editing and prime editing, overall advancing synthetic guide RNA-driven therapeutics. While the rest of the market is looking at guide RNA from a 1D, 2D perspective, where they are really making sequence-matched guides, which probably are good enough for research, but they don't make the cut when you're talking about therapies. So at Helix, we are looking at the entire design from a 3D, 4D perspective. We are looking at guide RNA as a drug substance, building on human CRISPR edit data, and exploiting the fact that structure really defines function, therefore exploiting various epigenetic markers to define gene specificity, cell specificity, and tissue specificity into the guide RNAs that we make. From early data that we have achieved, we can clearly see that our guide RNAs have outperformed the market leader. The two main points to take away from here is the concentration of the guide RNAs that we used were much less in comparison to the competitor. And also we used a single guide RNA approach in comparison to their multi-guide approach, which means that we are enabling, again, safer therapies. One of the other main technologies that we are really working towards is introducing tissue specificity into the guide RNAs that we make. So one of the biggest challenges that a person faces when they are doing in vivo therapies is the leaky delivery of the editing system into unintended tissues. While there's a lot of science that's been revolving around enhancing the delivery system or the vector, at Helix, we are introducing tissue specificity to the guide RNAs so that even when there is a leaky delivery into an unintended tissue, our guide RNAs act as an extra layer of safety. We are the comprehensive guide RNA partners to drug developers. We make or customize guide RNA for their therapy of choice using our unique design. We safety profile the guide RNA by performing in vitro testing and taking it as a drug substance. And we ultimately do the GMP grade manufacturing of that guide RNA as well. We are catering to a large and growing market. So based on one of the published market reports by CRISPR Therapeutics, we've been able to establish that we're catering to a market of $33 billion. Now, looking at a 15% market share and a very minimalistic cost of 3% going towards guide RNA manufacturing, we are looking at a sum of 420 million. Now here, I've not even considered the 20% CAGR at which the CRISPR therapeutic market is growing. And this is only a glimpse of the CRISPR-Cas market, not capturing the synthetic guide RNA market. We have the right team to advance our vision, both in terms of the science, technology, as well as the business. We have the right advisors to advance our vision. So these are executives who are well entrenched into the cell and gene therapy market, and they bring in a lot of value. We also have an advisor in the field who has actually got various patents in guide RNA or RNA synthesis. With this, I would like to thank you all and ask you to join us in making genetic diseases a thing of the past. Thank you.
Thank you so much. What a wonderful introduction to Helix and a wonderful vision of the future to eliminate genetic diseases. Now, I haven't mentioned the format of today's event, and I apologize, but after we hear from our next speaker, we will have some prepared questions, panel questions, but we'd like to make sure that we have your questions answered too. So if you have questions for Danielle, for Uyen, for Poulami, or for Norman, who's coming up, go ahead and put those in the chat, and I'll do my best to incorporate those. Now, our final speaker to introduce a totally revolutionary way, a new mechanism of action to protect skincare is Dr. Norman Miller, who's going to introduce us to Kutanios and their peptide ingredient.
Thank you, thank you, Julie. My name is Norman Miller. I'm the CSO of Kutanios. We're developing a revolutionary new technology, which is to protect skin from all wavelengths of sunlight and atmospheric pollutants, and which we call Lipox arrays. The company was created by myself. I'm a former professor of medicine and biochemistry in London and Oxford, and Dr. Irina Miller, who is also a biomedical scientist with experience in cell biology and lipid metabolism. And we've been helped by a real expert in the cosmetic field, Dr. Leonard Zastrov, who used to be Senior Vice President for Research and Development at Coty Lancaster for more than 15 years. The ingredients that we are developing have their basis in 3 discoveries of my own during my academic research career. The first was the role of HDL, usually known as good cholesterol, in preventing cardiovascular disease, which was published in The Lancet many years ago and became the most cited paper ever published in The Lancet. And secondly, the fact that the proteins of the HDL particles also sequester not only cholesterol, but also molecules called lipid peroxides. And the third important finding was that the level of lipid peroxides I found in skin was more than 10 times that in blood. And this is, lipid peroxides are important molecules because we know that they are a factor in causing the aging of skin, in skin cancer, sunburn and also in acne. And biochemical studies have shown that they have harmful effects on cell metabolism, DNA, and the proteins collagen and elastin. They accumulate in skin as we age, and importantly, their production in skin from the oils in skin are accelerated by sunlight, atmospheric pollution, and tobacco smoke. And it's all wavelengths of sunlight and not just ultraviolet. And yet there is currently no technology that targets lipid peroxides in any skincare products. Our solution has been to develop biodegradable peptides which capture lipid peroxides in the skin, inactivate them, and enhance their removal by natural processes. The next few slides sort of illustrate the mechanism of lipid peroxides being produced in skin. They bind to the DNA and to the cells and to proteins where they cause problems. But lipoxyrays will enter the skin, adhere to the surfaces of the cells, and at the same time sequester, as we say, the lipid peroxides as they're formed. When the cells are lost from the skin by the natural process that we call desquamation, they will take the lipoxyrase peptide and the lipid peroxides with them. So it's a natural process of cleansing the skin of the lipid peroxides. We've made progress with proof of concept studies in 3 laboratories now, showing decreases in collagen breakdown, in inflammation, in damage to DNA, and also most recently in damage to proteins. This, we believe, is a revolutionary new approach to skincare. If we compare lipoxyrays with matrixyl, which is the current peptide market leader, and with retinol and with UV screens as skincare ingredients, only lipoxyrays will remove lipid peroxides, and only it will have all the other beneficial effects that we're looking for in a skincare ingredient, protecting from sunlight, pollutants, and tobacco, and also being eco-friendly, as they are totally biodegradable. We're developing B2B partnerships with major cosmetic companies around the world, several of which have already shown interest, and we have patents filed in the UK, in the EU, and China, and we also have patent applications planned for the USA. We're targeting a global B2B market in 4 areas: skin cleansing, anti-aging, over-the-care acne, and sun care products, which together add up to a market of 2.2 billion. If we capture 10% of this market on a B2B basis, this will generate a revenue of approximately $165 million per year. The cost to the B2B customer would be about 75 cents per consumer unit. We plan to be in pilot production by the 3rd quarter of 2022. At the present time, we're at the stage of completing our proof of concept studies before we move on to toxicology and skin tests, and we plan to be in sales by the end of 2023. We believe that this is going to be a revolution in skincare. It's a method of detoxifying skin. It's science-based, it's eco-friendly, it's affordable, it's safe, and we hope that you will be equally excited and want to join us in helping to make this happen by getting in touch with us at the website and the email address shown here. So thank you for listening to me.
Thank you so much, Norman. That was a wonderful introduction to Kutanios and the new mechanism that you have for skin protection. Now I'd like to invite all of the panelists back to the stage to have a Q&A. We're going to speak for about 20 minutes, and then everyone here on the panel is going to jump into the networking sessions, which are in Hopin, and you can see a button directly to your left where we can have small meetings and hopefully have some more chats and answer some of your questions there as well. But my first question, because I'm the moderator and I get to pick the first question, I love to hear the insight that our CEOs have had, which was the impetus to build a startup, a biotech startup. And Danielle, I'm going to turn first to you. I know that you're very passionate about commercializing technology, but what was it that was your insight that led you to form Ceragen?
Yeah, so I actually started my master's degree. I was very interested in working in the plant growth promotion and agricultural space. After doing a degree in microbiology, I was really interested in how we can use microbes to basically help change world problems. And so I helped work with the professor that I had started my master's degree with on evaluating sort of these sort of technologies that they've been developing and the predecessor to his lab as well over the last 20 years, and was like, wow, like this has real commercial potential. We need to get this out into the world. So basically taking that technology and figuring out how to drive it to market was how we kind of got started.
Excellent. And Poulami, I'll go next to you and ask your insight that now is a great time to the technology, the market. How did you know that everything was coming to a head and Helix was ready to be born?
Right. So the whole concept, right, Julie, that how we are progressing rapidly from the ability to accurately read DNA to rewrite DNA, especially for critical genetic conditions. And with CRISPR-Cas being such a powerful technology that's already being, seen its introduction into humans for therapy, I thought this is a great place to start. So most of the next generation gene editing therapies involve this critical component, which is the guide RNA, and it's driving really the whole space. It has its own space called synthetic guide RNA driven therapeutics. So Helix is really looking at it from the point of view where we become like the key knowledge and technology drivers for guide RNAs to help drug developers to come up with safer therapies. So I think that's the whole concept, and that is where we see ourselves going.
Understood. Excellent answer. And now to you, Uyen, your insight. I know that you have a lot of different experience, both on the material side and the design side. How did you know that now was the right time, your insight that it was time for Tomtex to be born?
Yeah, so I think, Julie, we are at the economy that, like we take a lot of material from the earth and we make product from them. Eventually, like, we threw them away, right? So as a fashion designer and textile designer, so I work in the fashion industry for a long time. And we know that like 60% of the materials is actually made out of plastic and it won't biodegrade. And most of them, like is either incinerated or end up in landfill. So basically like 5 years ago, like it's so hard for a designer like us to sort out the sustainable materials. And now actually like when, the customer aware of the like more sustainable materials and drive the market. So that's when now it's create a lot of opportunity for us to foster this new realm of materials.
Wonderful. Thank you. And Norman, you mentioned some of the insights, of course, during your academic career, which led to understanding the problem. How did you know that Kutanios would have the solution?
The major thing that excited me was our discovery that the concentration of lipid peroxides is so high in skin. This isn't something that we were looking for at the time. Basically, the work that we was doing by a unique method that we developed in our lab was to study cholesterol transport by HDLs. And but we measured lipid peroxides for various reasons. And when we found that the concentration was so high, this is what really prompted me to think of whether or not we can bring the two technologies together, the knowledge that HDL will sequester lipid peroxides and the fact that there's such high concentration in skin. And there was already good evidence that lipid peroxides were not good for cells and not good for skin or proteins. And it was that which really made us go ahead and develop the company. Yeah.
Absolutely. Excellent answer. Now I'd like to ask about go-to-market strategy, because we're here talking with the title of this event is Innovative Infrastructure. Nobody here is going to be selling their product directly to most of the folks who are in our audience, but you are creating the foundations of what others will use in order to build things to change people's lives. So I'm going to turn first to you, Norman, so to talk about how you will work. You have mentioned several different opportunities in skin cleansing and anti-aging. What's your go-to-market strategy, and how are you going to expand from there?
We're going to start with the anti-aging market. I think it's not the largest sector of the market that we're going after. The biggest market is probably skin cleansing, but the anti-aging market is a clearly defined market. It's one that is growing very rapidly. There's a lot of interest in it, and we found that talking to major international cosmetic companies that is an area that really interests them. So we plan to start there and then to expand into skin cleansing, acne, and other areas.
Very exciting. I look forward to the first products that have Kutanios peptides inside of them. All right, Uyen, I know you have a couple of milestones coming up where people will be able to see the product, but what is the plan to get this into the market and to really replace, you said 60% of materials which are now composed of different types of plastics? Oh, Uyen, I believe you are saying something that we all want to hear and unfortunately are muted. So if you, yeah, there we go. Thank you.
Yes. So actually, like, we have 2 pilot collection coming up, and it's very excited. So we want to, like, create this customer pipeline, and we launched this first pilot collection with a small, exclusive, and luxury brand first. And we want to create this win-win partnership by inviting brand and involve into our R&D process and learn from them. And after that, when we developed this connection and improve our materials, we want to move forward with bigger scale of the production. And at that time, we can collaborate with more bigger brand or mainstream brand with a larger material volume.
Excellent. Next, we're going in the same kind of opposite order of how our first question was. Poulami, can you please talk about what your go-to-market strategy now? Of course, for someone who's working with therapeutics, it's going to be quite a different type of road than someone who's working with consumer products. But I know you have a couple irons in the fire. Can you explain what those are?
Yeah, so I think at Helix, we are really intending to be this end-to-end therapeutic lead guide RNA partner to drug developers. So starting from designing their lead guide RNA to testing and validating the guide RNAs as drug substance, and finally synthesizing their GMP grade guide RNA, right? Which is catered for their therapy. So which will help them get to market faster. So we are starting with CRISPR-Cas right now. But as we move forward, we'll be also catering to base editing, prime editing, the future, gene editing mechanisms. So that is our go-to market. We want to be these therapy partners. We want to be partners to these therapy developers so that they get to go to market faster.
I see. Excellent summary. And I started this question by asking go-to-market strategy, but of course, Ceragin, Danielle, during your talk, you spoke about already being on the market. So can you talk about what your strategy is to expand that market and the additional products you have in your pipeline? Oh, Danielle, we also want to hear your answer. Thank you.
Yeah, so absolutely. So as far as our current sales have been mainly direct to farmer. So we've had pretty much 100% conversion rate for farmers that we've gotten on the phone to pilots, and then from pilots to repeat customers. So that's been really exciting for our company so far. And then as far as new products that we have in the pipeline, I'd say we probably have about 6 to 8 new products that we're working on right now for various other vegetables. And the first of which that we are bringing to market this year. So that's going to be for use in lettuce as well. So then we'll have 2 products on market. So yeah, things are really exciting over here at Ceragen.
That is very exciting, and look forward to seeing what the names of your future products products are, since accelerate is already taken. Now, one of the things I would like to ask is the differentiation. We have a lot of companies that are represented, startups that are in really hot spaces, right? Like we know that there are others who are also working to create new biomaterials or new RNA therapeutics. I would like you to summarize, if you could, the secret sauce that is going to help you to differentiate and succeed as you continue to grow into a global business. Here, I will open the floor and see if anyone would like to unmute themselves to go first. Otherwise, we'll just go in the same order. All right, Danielle, would you please be able to talk about what that differentiation factor is?
Absolutely. So for our company, we're one of the few microbial products that are kind of available in the horticultural space, and we're the few companies that is focusing on that space specifically. So most soil microbes can't make the transition from the soil environment to the hydroponic environment. So a lot of products that are on the market right now just aren't suitable for use. It's kind of like if you think about taking a cow and throwing it in the middle of the ocean, it's just not going to survive very well.
That's a nice analogy. I haven't heard that one before, but that is probably true about the cow and the microbes. Wonderful. I'll turn over to Norman and ask Norman, there's a number of peptides that are looking to improve skincare. How is Kutanios' peptide unique and different in a way that gives you an advantage?
I think the big difference between ours, Julia, and others is that the principle that we're using is one of detoxification. It's not, these are not peptides which will add something to the skin in terms of changing the way their biochemistry or their structure. Basically, what the peptides are doing is removing these lipid peroxides that we know are harmful and that are toxic. So I think this is a new principle, a new concept, one of actually removing toxic chemicals from skin that at present is not around in the cosmetic or skincare industry. It's an entirely new concept.
Yeah, fascinating. Poulami, can you please answer the same question in terms of the secret sauce that is going to help you in creating the best, most safe, patient-safe guide RNAs? Oh, Poulami, sorry, the third time's the charm. We also want to hear your answer. I appreciate that everyone is being so polite to the fellow panelists, but yes, we want to hear your answer.
Right. So currently, guide RNA is really being viewed as a commodity where the design is extremely simplistic, which is probably good enough for research and development, but it does not cut it through when you're talking about therapy. So at Helix, we are really making guide RNAs which can act as a lever for safety by using our unique designing, which takes into account the cell specificity and tissue specificity. And this really allows our partner companies to capture significant value in terms of improving the safety of their overall therapy. So I think the whole approach that we take in terms of using guide RNA as a drug substance is very different to looking at guide RNA that can be just tested for research. So that's how we differentiate.
Wonderful, thank you. Now, Uyen, I see that there's a question from the audience about when it was that you formed Tomtex and how you built your team. And maybe you would even want to incorporate some of this into your answer on what differentiates Tomtex as a company in the biomaterials space.
Yeah, thank you, Julie, and thank you, Songling, for your question. So actually, like, I want to start, building sustainable material for so long already. And, like, I grew up in Da Nang, Vietnam, and it's an epic center of leather manufacturing. So grew up in that environment and moved here to New York to, work in different kind of fashion house in different brand here in New York. I can see that demand for sustainable material in general. So I shifted my career from fashion designer to textile designer, and with a dream to create more sustainable materials to supply for those demand. And I launched the company like a years ago and formed the team with Adam and Ross to like we bring a lot of different skill and different expert onto the table to create this material. And Ross have a lot of expertise in material science, with Adam like a lot of expertise in business, and together like we tried to like develop the materials and hopefully like can deliver the material for everyone.
Excellent, excellent. Yes, I like that you were able to incorporate both answers in that. Wonderful. Now, I want to ask a question which I love to ask of our IndieBio founders because I think it really gets at the heart of the people that we like to work with, which are our mission-driven founders. And that is the part of building a startup that you have found most rewarding. Now, I know that there's a lot of ups and downs, and we've all gone through that in the 4-month program. But can you please say to the audience what it is that you have found most rewarding in this journey, the thing that keeps you going, day after day to continue building your company? And I'll turn right back to you, Uyen, because I saw you nodding. So I think you have something at the top of your mind. Uyen?
So I lost my connection a little bit. Can you ask the question again?
Oh, so sorry. Yes, can you please tell the audience what you have found most rewarding about building Tomtex?
Yeah, thank you, Julie. So the most rewarding so far for me is building the team. I think like I'm very lucky to meet a lot of great people along the journey when I start the company. In terms of like mentorship, IndieBio team, people like in the industry that very support Tomtex along the way, and I have 2 amazing co-founder like Adam and Ross. That is the backbone of the company, and together, like we work side by side together just to day by day to create the materials.
Excellent. Yes, people are at the heart of everything that we do at IndieBio as well, of course. Poulami, can you please say what it is that you have found most rewarding on your journey so far?
Yes, I think the science and technology that Helix is working towards is life saving. There is so much potential to touch and change lives of so many people. So the biggest thing that always reinstates the purpose in me is when strangers, come up to me and they support the progress that we are making for a particular. They come and say that, "Oh, can you accelerate a particular therapy because one of my loved one is suffering from a disorder that has no cure." I think that really inspires me to get going on a day-to-day basis, and that really reinstates the purpose in all of us and makes us realize that our vision is actually much bigger than our individual lives.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Norman, over to you now. Of course, I think that of all of the founders here, you are the one who is building on a life's work of research to create a product. Can you talk about what has been most rewarding in the journey toward building Kutanios?
Yes, Julie, I've been in academic research a long time, many years, and developing a startup has come towards the end of that academic period. And I don't know if it's a good analogy, but I tend to think of medical research and all research really as if you were growing a plant. You have the seed for an idea which you then germinate. You lay the foundations as if they're the roots. You help the plant to grow with your research and by collaborating with others, and different branches of the research of the progress develop as time goes on. And at the end of the day, if you're a clinical researcher, as I am, you may be involved in testing the fruits of the plant, but you never actually develop the fruits. That's left to the pharmaceutical industry and the biotechnology industries and so on. And so for me, the really rewarding thing is to fill in that gap, if you like, to be involved in developing the fruits and being able to see that will be of value to people.
Oh, absolutely. What a lovely analogy. And also a perfect segue over to our plant startup. So Danielle, if you could follow on with that. I don't know if you also have a plant analogy to talk about what you find most rewarding, but we would love to
Yeah.
hear what it is.
I don't specifically have a plant analogy, but in the same kind of vein as Norman, like what I find the most satisfying about working at a startup and just working kind of in the industry in general is shipping product out the door, like seeing that fruits of your labor, that, you know, the research that has come all the way from beginning ideas to a product that you are sending to someone because it's going to have an impactful change in their life. And like that to me is the most rewarding, is seeing that whole cycle come to fruition.
Oh, absolutely. Now, I would like to thank all of our panelists for your very thoughtful answers. Thank you for sharing your time with us today. We know that you're very busy as you're continuing to on that journey of building your startups. I do see there's a question from Radu, but I apologize, Radu. Perhaps you can ask that in the networking section. I do want to make sure that our CEOs and founders here are able to jump into the networking section so you can interact with them and speak with them yourselves. Before we do that, let me just say a quick thanks to our panelists today, Danielle, Uyen, Norman, and Poulami. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I would also like to give a thanks to the SOSV crew that has been helping us with all of these panels. I have not given enough kudos to Josh and Norm, who've been helping to make sure that all of our technology is working. So thanks, guys. All right, we're going to join you over in the Hop In networking section. So we'll see you over there.
Thank you.